Hello, Minnesota. My name is Jason Prokowiew. I am a member of the Trio House press family. Trio House is based in Minneapolis, and our press is coming together for this vigil to get ICE and its murderous agents out of your city. Minnesotans, my heart is with you. I'm the author of War Boys, a father and son memoir, which Trio House will publish July 1st of this year. War Boys is a braided memoir about my Russian father's adoption by the Nazis who murdered his family at the start of the Nazis' World War II invasion of Belarus in 1941 and the wartime trauma that he carried into parenthood. I'm going to read a short passage from War Boys that I chose because it shows a bit of fascism at work in Minsk, Belarus in 1942, as atrocity becomes the everyday, as a regime tries to put its boot on the neck of resistance. I look at this scene as a warning of things to come, that it can always get worse. There can always be more civilian casualties. There can always be a tank where there was once an ICE agent, where there was once a child, if we don't continue to resist. In Minneapolis, I've watched from Massachusetts as you've stepped outside your homes and built the resistance with whistles, your camera phones, your bodies, your hands outstretched to each other, and an unwillingness to let it happen. This is a dark passage, so I invite you not to listen if it's not what you need right now, and speaks to the deep cost of resistance, but reminds of resistance power to save lives. Thank you, Minnesotans, for continuing to save lives. So that you can understand what I'm about to read, the named characters you'll hear mentioned are Herr Krautzik, the Nazi who adopted my father during the Nazi occupation of Minsk, who beat my father but also employed him as his courier in the city and his boot shiner at home. You'll hear Ivan, another Russian who worked at the slaughterhouse where my father lived with Krautzik, and of course, you'll hear the name Volodya, who's my father, who was about 11 years old at this time. You'll hear Krautzik refer to Volodya as Wolfgang, because that was the name the Nazis used on my father as they remade his identity into a German one. And I'll also mention the very important Partisans, a group in the city that resisted fascism and the Nazi regime. Volodya mostly traveled the city by truck now, but walked when Krautzik otherwise needed the vehicle. One early December morning, he chose a shortcut through a familiar soccer stadium, its bleachers now dilapidated and filthy. A whole side of the stadium was ripped open as though made of paper. As he crossed the field, he spotted large objects near the hole in the wall, swinging lightly in the breeze like crumpled flags. He moved closer, his throat tightening as he recognized them not as flags, but as bodies, corpses, some with eyes closed, others eyeballs bulging from their sockets as though searching for someone to cut them loose. Above the stadium's rickety ticket counter, someone sunk at least a dozen steel rods, and from each rod hung a rope tied into a noose. At the end of every noose hanged a dead Russian. Volodya couldn't turn from their convex eyes searching the skies. He recognized the plain gray uniform some wore, from the prison where he'd looked for his mother. He scanned the bodies, afraid and eager to see hers, though he didn't. A wind whistled through the stadium, chilling him as the bodies swayed and rigid white fingers touched in the breeze. His mind went blank. He couldn't move, could only stare. After many minutes, he stumbled forward as he looked up at the bruised necks, the unwavering glares. He walked faster as he passed the last body, a man with full beard and mustache. He spotted the exit and ran, not looking back. Outside, he leaned against the stadium wall. He put his hands to his knees. How badly he wished his mother would materialize then, so he could bury his face in her shoulder and cling to her. Move, he told himself. Keep moving to avoid hunger, to avoid hangings, to avoid. He touched his face. He was still there. He heard the distant murmur of tank treads and remembered where he was. He scolded himself again. Move. Eyeballs staring toward the sky raced through his mind. Move! He stood upright. He took a step and remembered the bodies just as he always would. He touched the stadium wall, moved forward. Move! Is everything all right, Wolfgang? Krautzik asked at dinner. Yes, Herr Krautzik, he said. He'd rather have gone to his bedroom, but didn't want to do something other than what Krautzik expected of him. He wasn't hungry, but nibbled a roll. After intensely scrubbing Krautzik's boots, he hurried to the boiler room to tell Ivan what he'd seen. "I've heard of the hangings," Ivan said, explaining how the Germans were enraged that the partisans distributed literature encouraging resistance, that they brought Jews into the woods to help them escape the Nazis, and foremost, that they killed German and Italian troops. Allegedly, standing orders were that 10 Russian prisoners should be shot or hanged for every German killed. When Volodya shut his eyes in bed that night, bodies swung behind his eyelids, their faces so white he saw through them. He opened his eyes to see his closet, his nightstand, the things he liked having. He closed his eyes again and saw eyeballs looking towards the sky. Nightstand, closet, job, food. He made himself think of these things until he fell asleep. About a week ago, my Trio House publisher Chris emailed to say, "I see men like Bovino in my city wearing long Nazi-inspired coats and giving Nazi salutes who remind me of Krautzik and my streets full of emboldened bullies in uniforms. I hope that War Boys reminds others how important it is to hold the line for democracy, what can happen if we let this continue. Minnesota, I see you, we see you. I learn from you, we learn from you. I hold the line with you from here. We hold the line with you. You have my whole heart and the hearts of so many. Hold the line